Bioscience India have good expertise in handling crop protection chemicals. However, storage of seed is relatively new for us. This video will give practical tips on proper storage of seed. I request all of you to learn and implement sincerely. Thank you.
As we all know, seed is a living entity and similar to other living organisms, its lifespan in terms of germination, vigor, viability and ultimately planting value depends on post-harvest handling. The seeds being handled at our plant are not exposed to long travel in adverse climate and multiple handlings, more or less under our direct supervision and control. Hence, the life of this seed is realized to its optimum potential. Contrary to this, the seeds being handled at our C&F locations is much more challenging because the seeds here have undergone many rigors of handlings, travel stresses and passed through different climatic zones, hence more vulnerable, and hard to eat. The seeds are handled by staff who may not be aware about the correct handling practices and also may not have the best conditions. Hence, much more care is required here. As per historical evidence, the seed discard due to quality failures such as germination, vigor, viability and luster in market returns is very high. The main contributing factors for this discard are inappropriate practices during loading, unloading, stacking practices at various storage warehouses, poor storage conditions especially with respect to ventilation, lack of segregation of good and bad material, lack of insect and pest management if seed is lying for more than 30 days. The aim of this documentary is to show the minimum facilities required at our C&F warehouses and also other good practices to maintain the original seed quality that when dispatched from the factory till the stock is forwarded to next customer. It also addresses the material handling procedures at our C&F warehouses when seed lots are received from different parties once the sale season is complete. Let us now understand how to avoid such circumstances and protect our seeds.
Waterproofing and ventilation. The warehouse should be leakage proof from rainwater. Ensure rainwater does not enter the warehouse through shutters, kept for material movement by maintaining appropriate slope and leaving no gap between floor and shutter. Similarly, care should be taken to prevent entry of rainwater into warehouse from windows. Providing canopy at loading and unloading points for protection from rainwater. It is preferable to have exhaust fans in the warehouse to reduce heat, especially during summer. Sufficient light, natural or electric, should be available for easy operations and also for lot identification during loading and unloading. Rat proofing. While constructing or selecting third-party new warehouses, following points are to be considered to prevent entry of rats into the warehouse. There should not be any trees close to the warehouse wall. The canopy of the trees should not be touching the warehouse roof. The floor of the warehouse should be at least 1 meter above the ground level. Lipping slab of 3 feet width should be all around. Detachable staircase should be used while the activities are in progress. Staircase to be separated from lipping slab when there are no operations performed and also after evening hours. Proper drainage around the warehouse to be ensured. Ensuring safety grill on the lipping slab. Fire extinguishers at appropriate locations are of primary importance. insect and pest management in seed storage. Preferable to take up disinfection of the entire warehouse and pallets with proposed chemicals at least 10 days prior to seed arrivals or season. Use of appropriate personal protection equipment (PPE) during chemical handling is most important to ensure safety and health. Pallet. Stacking should always be done on pallets to ensure air movement even from the bottom, thus removing excess heat and direct contact of seed bags with moisture either due to leakage or seepage. Never store seed bags on floor or on tarpaulins. Pallets can be wooden, plastic or iron, but preference will be for wood as it does not hold heat. It will be ideal to have uniform size pallets to maintain uniformity. Stacking. Proper stacking system will help in easy identification of seed lots, ventilation, and inspection of bags, cartons for insects or other pest damage. Recommended personal protection equipment (PPE) such as shoes, helmet is mandatory apart from using recommended ladder to climb the stack. Use of tarpaulins to be stopped as it absorbs heat during summer, which directly affects seed longevity. Minimum gap of 3 feet to be maintained between two stacks, wall and stacks for proper inspection, ventilation and handling. Maximum height of the stacking should be 8 feet as per safety norms. For better inventory management and quick access to intended seed lots, a well-planned and defining floor layout is recommended. Crop and hybrid-wise stacking is recommended. Stock cards to be displayed at every stack, giving material number, material description, batch number, number of bags, quantity and quality status. Segregate QC hold, callback, expired seed batches to prevent dispatch of unintended material and display a board mentioning "Do not dispatch" under QC. Storing of chemicals and seeds is strictly in adherence to the state statutory requirement. If not defined, at least 3-meter gap to be maintained. Stacking methods. Bombay stacking. 2-line stacking is done by placing one vertical and one horizontal bag, one above the other. In this method, there is access to each and every bag for identification or inspection. This is the best method recommended, keeping in view batch identification, ventilation and easiness to handle. Gujarati stacking. Compact stacking in which bags are stored in multiple rows. It is difficult for batch identification and access, but more quantity can be stored in the same area. Handling and shipment. Hooks strictly not to be used while handling seed bags or cartons. Carefully place the cartons or bags on the pallet, avoiding dropping the bags. Avoid stamping of bags while stacking, loading and unloading. Avoid loading and unloading in rainy conditions. Batch verification to be done thoroughly at the time of loading and unloading. trucks meant for dispatch should be thoroughly inspected before loading by ensuring it is free from insect pest, other grains and dust. Platform should be dry. If required, chemical spray to be taken up. Use of good quality tarpaulins and plastic covers, at least one on the platform below the seed bags, 2 layers of tarpaulin above the seed bags and a plastic covering at the top. Handling of sales returns from parties. Proper inspection will ensure genetic integrity apart from maintaining germination and vigor of market returns. Compulsory labeling by coding the party, shop name with number of bags on secondary bags or cartons while sending sales returns to plant to trace the party, distributor or dealer in case of any non-conformity. Check thread color in secondary bag. Segregate sealed or open pouches. Segregate wet seed. Segregate expired batches. Check for duplicate packing material. Check for spurious seeds, especially when it is not received in our sealed secondary containers.
The financial impact due to seed discards is one of the important indicators of the financial performance of the seeds industry. The capability of a seeds company is reflected in how well they can manage the seeds discards. In this video which you saw just now, we have made an attempt to give you some orientation to the best practices in seed storage. I believe you find them useful and practical to implement. I thank you in advance for cooperating in implementing these practices.
Bioscience Private Limited.